When you become pro-Asian enough, you start listening to Black people and become pro-Black as well. I'm not talking about individual Asian advancement where you play pick me to white people, cater to them, make yourself smaller for them, maybe marry one of them, and then move up in society that way. No, that's not what I'm talking about. When you're interested in the liberation of the Asian American collective and in Asians around the world freeing themselves, and specifically to Asian Americans because we are a relatively new ethnic group in America, you realize that Black Americans have been liberating themselves for as long as they have been here, for over 400 years. You look at the way that they ostracize the pick-me's in their community, the Candace Owens, you can see what happened with Onyeka, the Danish deception girl. Black people, and specifically Black women, did not let them off the hook. Candace Owens can no longer go to Black people for any kind of support or help because as a collective, they have disowned her. Why are Asians not doing more of that? Look at the way that Black people have created their own spaces, created their own communities throughout American history. Even when white people have gone and tried to destroy them, they have managed to create their own culture, their own language. They're protective of those spaces. They embrace their ethnic features and hair texture instead of just doing whatever Karen is doing. And this, I'm talking generally. I'm not saying that every Black American is like this. I'm saying that a lot of them are, and that the general sentiment that I get from that community is that they are proud to be who they are. So if you're Asian and you're thinking, I want to be able to wear my cheap to school, I don't like it when people gentrify my food after making fun of it my entire childhood. I don't like being fetishized, and I will not marry someone who does that to me. When you start thinking this way, you just look right on over to Black people, and they've already had those thoughts. They've already done the same thing. You just do it in your own Asian flavor. And this doesn't even get into the fact that our liberation is all tangled up in each other. Like all the minorities in the US and in the world, overthrowing white supremacy is like a collective effort. And Black people have been telling us this since we got here.
I'm mad at Asian Americans because why are we so smart but so silent? What's with the silence? I suspect that if we opened our mouths, we would side with Black people and other brown people as the real American heroes. Yeah, we're brown, not white. But this would disrupt the white supremacy brainwash we're caught in. And deep down, we hate ourselves for siding with whiteness. We know they're wrong. Our silence is the sound of us hating ourselves. But that's the Squid Game trap that they set for us, an Asian American matrix that messes with our reality. And it's all based on hating Black people. You know, the ones we're all secretly trying to copy, even the white peoples. White supremacy isn't smart, but it's tricky like that. Do you like being tricked? I don't know any Asians who put up with that. We gotta decolonize ourselves and find Asian joy. Therein lies our voice.
And Asians had been really quiet among the deportations and the things they are experiencing right now with the Trump administration. They have been extremely quiet. And finally, they are breaking that silence and knowing that what is happening right now to Latinos, what is happening to Mexicans, to Cubans, all these things will happen to them. So actually, the biggest ICE raids happened to Asian people. Yes, in the Hyundai plant. Even when the Korean government was really good sending an airplane to deport their people, yes, these things are happening in the Asian community, and finally they are waking up, they are speaking up about it. Yes, Asians have preferred to be talking about fashion and boba tea in this time, but finally they are changing the narrative. And here in this video, we're going to be talking about this and things that happen in the Asian community and how they are finally understanding, okay, the Black community, where and are their biggest highlights. And we're going to be talking about colorism, okay, in the Asian community too, and all these things. So stay towards the end because this video is going to get really interesting. Please don't forget to drop a like, comment, subscribe to my channel. Help us to support liberal media subscribing to my channel. The MAGA nuts have all the subscribes, all the likes, on all the comments. Help us to support liberal media, subscribing to my channel, and stay towards the end.
Thank you to this creator for speaking on this, and dear Asian Americans, we need to be talking about anti-blackness within our community. Hi, my name is Dr. Yi, I'm a psychology professor, and in my research, I have found that anti-blackness is pervasive among Asian Americans, especially when they internalize the model minority myth. When Asian Americans adopt this belief that their racial group is superior to other racial groups because they have stronger cultural values in hard work and success, it's correlated to greater explicitly negative attitudes towards Black Americans. And echoing what this creator shared, this pitting of minorities against one another, this narrative that Asian Americans just pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and have the right cultural values and hard work to succeed. That narrative has been really internalized within our community and has hindered solidarity to promote greater racial justice for us all. And in my other research, I've done in-depth interviews with Asian Americans to really explore how the model minority myth shapes these beliefs, and particularly serves as a barrier to engaging in activism. So dear Asian Americans, let's break this cycle of silence about anti-Blackness within our community. We can use what privilege we have to engage in protests and rallies, but also in smaller spaces like speaking up in your family when there's an anti-Black comment made. Let's hold ourselves accountable to the ways that we're perpetuating systems of oppression, because nobody's free until everybody's free. Follow for more Asian American psych from a professor.
The Asian community is literally so anti-Black, and it literally fucking pisses me off. Like, we are literally so uneducated, uninformed, just misinformed, everything about the Black community, and it pisses me off. And like, it just boggles my mind how a lot of Asians see Black people as beneath them. I shit you not, I literally saw someone on my story and I literally was so gagged. Like, I was like, are you serious right now? And I sent him a message, ask him if he's being serious about this. This guy is Bhutanese. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but like, I guess he got like some kind of spray tan or whatever because he's doing some kind of stupid movie shoot or whatever. Roy posts on his story and says, because his skin is like 10 shades darker or something, he said, "Can I say the N-word now?" with a ninja emoji next to it. I slid up so fucking quick and I asked this man, are you fucking serious right now? And guess what? That man left me on red. Need I say again that he is not Black? He is Bhutanese from Bhutan or whatever the fuck you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Quite honestly, like, the Asian community is literally so underhandedly racist to the Black community, and it just, like, not to mention the Black community is one of the most supportive of marginalized groups that has ever like uplifted the Asian community and actually put effort into supporting us. I'm probably gonna piss a lot of Asians off for saying that, but it's literally the truth and I fucking see it for what it is.
I've been seeing a lot more content about Black and Asian solidarity, so I wanted to share my story. Before I was embraced by Asian folks, I found a sense of belonging in the Black community first. It's where I learned about brotherhood and camaraderie, and also how to rap. And even now, as someone who's unapologetically Asian as fuck, my love and respect remains the same. Because honestly, if the Black community in Atlanta didn't support me and encourage me to rap when I was a teen, I probably wouldn't be an artist right now. By the way, these type of cultural exchanges have been happening way before me, and it's more common than you think. So don't let social media make you think we're all against each other.
Asian people in the US are so weird, liking white people more than their own people.
Think of it like this. When COVID hit, remember all the anti-Asian rhetoric that was going around America? Now imagine that energy stretched over a lifetime. Growing up, I'd hear that Asian men are not attractive, we only know how to do math, we can't drive, we have the funny accents, the slanty eyes. It's really hard, given all of that, to grow up as an Asian man in America and be proud of who you are. Now imagine coming home and the people in your house are Asian parents who don't express their emotions, who lay hands on you, who don't ever apologize, who make you feel less than for not wanting to be a doctor or engineer. Mine also called me stupid. Oh, you'll never get into this school, you'll never do this. Look at my friend's son and what he's doing. And so when both your indoor and outdoor environments make you question your self-worth, of course you're going to try and be someone else. I think that's human nature. And in America, what group do you look towards? White people. They are the heroes in all the movies, they're on all the magazines. It is very easy to put them on a pedestal, which I did, admittedly. And my story isn't unique. Now, these days, I am proud of who I am, and my heritage, and my facial structure. But it took a long time and a lot of personal growth and a lot of help from cultural phenomena like K-pop. There is so much more to say about this topic, like, for example, how a lot of Asian Americans don't feel connected to their extended families because they're not Asian enough, or how I in college saw up close white people with their close families and how that impacted me. But I want to keep it short. I hope this helps you and other Asians who didn't grow up in America understand us better.
Do you want to know why there's a hate between Asian people and black people? Let me tell you, there's no hate. Asian people love black people. Do you want to know why Asian Americans just want to be black all the time? Like, they just want to be cool because we have no representation in the media. You know what I mean? All we got is white people and then black comedy. That's all we got. Like, we got Bruce Lee from like the 70s. That's all we got. When we finally like some cartoons that people like, it's like Dragon Ball Z, we're like, yeah, this is awesome. Wait, the ultimate form is blonde hair and blue eyes? What the, you know what I mean? So where's the love? Because the love is here. Asian people love black people, so don't forever forget that. Don't ever forget that.
And even when Asians own a lot of their civil rights to the black community, they've been separated or separating themselves from the black community. Don't forget, the Asians are the biggest earners in the USA. Okay, they earn even more money than white people. Okay, so they have been, their earning capacity of their high income had granted them another status. But now with the Trump administration, it doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how rich you are. Okay, if you are not the perfect color, okay, you are about to lose your citizenship. You are about to lose your residency. You are about to lose your legal status if you are nationalized or naturalized citizen. Okay, so Asians now are waking up and are speaking out about the things that are happening to minority communities.
This couldn't be farther from the truth. In fact, our greatest allies have been the black community. Black and Asian solidarity has a long, long history. And that's not to erase the examples from both sides of intolerance, hate, and violence. But at our best, we've long fought alongside each other, such as Frederick Douglass advocating for Chinese and Japanese immigration in 1869. Or when Henry Turner and Ida B. Wells spoke out on behalf of Filipino freedom fighters. Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King, and many black protesters condemning the violence and war in Vietnam. Japanese Americans fighting alongside the black community to repeal the Emergency Detention Act. The powerful relationship between Yuri Kochiyama and Malcolm X. Grace Lee Boggs and her husband James Boggs. Jesse Jackson, the NAACP for Vincent Chin. And the majority of Asian Americans who support the Black Lives Matter movement.
This actually is a serious question. Why don't you like us black people? Non-American Asians always gave me the cold shoulder. American Asians were cool and I often hang out with them. Are they just not used to us?
Partially.
Sad to say, but I know that there's anti-blackness very much so in a lot of Asian American communities. And obviously, unfortunately, anti-blackness is global. And I think like
it's a very long historical answer.
Yeah.
Some of it has to do with not being used to it. Okay, so colonization happened throughout the whole world when white colonizers took over Asia, Africa, all the other continents. And with that came the belief of anti-blackness that was instilled upon all of these communities. Now, once those colonizations ended, you were left with this homogenized community where they don't know anyone who don't look like they're all white, all Asian, all South Asian, whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden you fast forward to having technology and Western media, because again, controlled by whiteness, is pushing out this message of that black communities are gangsters, do this, they do that. And then that media gets pushed out into the world in the form of movies and TV shows. And now you take this homogenized community who has learned anti-blackness through colonization and stuff like that, on top of the fact that it's then mixed with people who are learning about these races for the first time through fictionalized television that is controlled by white media. And then you have this biased look. So when they meet Black people for the first time, they're having to reconcile what they have been essentially brainwashed into thinking versus then trying to figure out what that means when they meet you and they're like, but you're not any of these things. Which is the reason why you get a lot of people from Asia who are having to go through that discovery, and Asian Americans who grew up with that and know that those are things that are essentially propaganda, mind washing, to keep upholding this idea of, and instead of using the WS word, I'm going to say anti-blackness, because one is,
hand in hand,
and they push this anti-blackness, then it's basically global propaganda. So then people are trying to, come to those terms. And instead of just being hateful, they may just not understand.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that's like the short end of it.
Yeah. I mean, I have nothing to contribute. That was very concise. A lot of people are just conditioned to believe that Black people are whatever the conditioner wants you to believe they are.
Yep.
And, like my grandma, the only Black people she had ever seen were American soldiers in Korea. And to her, they were all part of the same group. And then when she came to America, all she knew about Black people was, like you said, what she had seen on TV, what people had told her. And so she was very distrusting of Black people. And I was like, how many Black people are just like everybody else? Like, I go to school with Black kids, like, and she was just like, oh no, they're very dangerous. I'm like, they're not. This is just what people wanted you to believe. But what else did she know? You know what I mean? She's just this like, country girl from, uneducated, and is told by everybody in power what to believe. My God is better. My people are better. My guns are better. So she's like, okay, well, all of these things are better. So I better side with the better side.
I'm going to rant a little about Asians who want to be white so bad. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and she went to a gathering, right? These people are Asian, right? But there are two white guys. Someone brought the Malona ice cream. The girl, who's Asian, goes, ew, is it an Asian ice cream? And then she'd make comments like, I wouldn't know because I don't have an Asian friend. She made another comment that said something like, this feels like a whole bunch of Asians playing with two super smart white guys, playing a word game, some shit like that. It's so cringe seeing Asian people try to cater to white people. Asian people act like proximity to whiteness makes them superior. You can literally feel the energy shift when someone has internalized racism. It's this weird mix of embarrassment, superiority, and I'm not like those other Asians vibes. And honestly, it's painful to watch. I've seen it so many times. Some Asians act like the second they get a white friend group, they level up in the social hierarchy. Suddenly, everything Asian is cringe or weird or low tier. You know what's the funniest part? They'll distance themselves from anything remotely Asian like it's toxic, and then they will over cater to their white partners or friends. Do you hear yourselves? It's like watching someone actively shrink themselves to fit into a box that was never built for them in the first place. Look, I get it, alright? A lot of Asians grow up being praised for assimilation. A lot of us are raised to believe whiteness equals safety, opportunity, acceptance. That's literally how internalized racism works. Acting like being white adjacent makes you superior to your own culture. Acting disgusted at your own food, your own features, your own background. It's not about hating anyone. It's more about calling out a pattern that harms all of us. Because when you look down at your own identity, the world learns to do the same. So yeah, Asians who think being white makes them better, just know that the rest of us see right through that.
And it is a slow process. It's not a fast process because all the Asian traditions they have live, okay, they are quiet as a society, okay, they are hardworking people and they try to keep things for themselves. But even so, things are changing so fast and so rapidly that definitely those Trump supporters, those Asian Trump supporters, historically Asian community have been Democrat, but this year some of the Asians have supported more the what is regularly count, okay, in other elections has support the orange buffoon, and many of them at this point are regretting their vote for the orange buffoon for the things that are happening in the Asian community with the deportations. Okay, we know this famous, and the month of March, we have famous image. They went into a nail salon and they tried to deport some of the people that were working in that nail salon. And of course, the things that happened in Georgia, and of course, things have been happening to the Asian community with the deportations.
I can only speak to Koreans of the diaspora because Asian is not a monolith. There are 4.8 billion Asian people in the world. There are 48 recognized Asian countries, so I can only talk to my people. Now, I understand why so many Koreans in the US specifically are silent, because there has been so much ancestral and intergenerational trauma that has made you forget. It's called memoricide as a result of US imperialism and colonization that spans centuries. When your grandparents, your parents, and possibly even yourself immigrated to this country, as a form of protection, you assimilate to whiteness because it affords you spaces of privilege and power. But what that actually does is a spiritual disconnection to your ancestors, your culture, and ultimately yourself. And because of the model minority myth, we are then used as tools of supremacy against our Black brothers and sisters. Can I just say that, like, you'll get far when you assimilate to whiteness. Like, you will be accepted into predominantly white institutions, you'll get far with capitalism, you'll have a nice cushy lifestyle, but you will never be accepted by whiteness. Not only do, like, we physically cannot, like, look at our phenotype, but you will never be accepted by them. And why would you want to? And I say this with so much love and compassion because I know our shared history. It's so painful and layered. And some of our ancestors chose to be freedom fighters while others chose to align themselves with occupation and whiteness and colonialism. Ultimately, this is all tied to self-worth because we've forgotten through time where we came from, who we really are, the richness of our culture. Something that my friend Tamsin Lee, who's also Korean, said to me 5 years ago is that we are from the land of the motherfucking tigers. Start acting accordingly.
This is for Asians, so if you're not Asian, you don't have to listen to this. But I have a question. Because when I hear Black people say this, it really pisses me off when they say this shit. So I have a question. Just because you haven't faced direct discrimination or racism, does that exempt you from speaking out on what's happening right now? Because I keep hearing people say, well, I've never faced that, and I didn't know this was going on because I've never, experienced any of this stuff. Like the community I grew up in, and white people treated me this way, and Black people treated me this way, so I never. Are you serious right now? So because you've never, admittingly, faced racism or discrimination, you don't think that you should say something or do something? Even if it's donating or doing a post, is it going to mess up the aesthetic of your page that much?
I really didn't want to make this video, but I've seen too many racist comments in my post, so I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna have to say it. A lot of boomer Asians, a lot of Asians abroad, some Asians my age or younger, or just generally around my age, are racist, subconsciously racist. They're racist, but they don't want to admit they're racist. These racists have this idea that Black, Hispanic, Latino, Indigenous people are lazy because after experiencing generational trauma, generational disadvantage, generational struggles, they're asking for the bare minimum to get a little better chance into getting into colleges, that they're lazy. People keep saying that there's free resources, free SAT prep, there's Khan Academy, there's YouTube, there's Google, but People don't understand what real poverty is. People just say, "Oh, there's poor Asians as well." But do you understand what poverty really is? Poverty is to the point where time really is money, and it's better spent working to get money to help your family and help yourself rather than your education. Okay, that's how poor you are. They don't even have time to study the books. And it's really funny saying that Black, Hispanic, Latino, Indigenous people are lazy when most of Asia is poor and poorer than these people in America. Now, this is the most crazy thing about me whenever I encounter like these crazy racist Asians is that don't you think they also want handouts as well? Huh? And how come they're not lazy, right? The truth of the matter is that humans in general will want to improve the situation if they can or if they can imagine it. Everyone is trying to make the best decision in their life to be happy, okay? Keyword, to be happy. And sometimes when you choose a life where you're trying to break the poverty cycle, the sacrifices and the pain is just not worth it to get like a 10% increase chance to getting into a college. All right. And after that, you still have to get a job. And even then, that's not even guaranteeing that you'll break the poverty cycle. Okay. So a lot of poor people what end up happens is they just forego the college route. Okay. They just give up on it. It's simply not worth it for them. This pain, this struggle, this sacrifice is exhibited in Asians as well. Okay. Don't say that only Black and Hispanic and Latino and Indigenous people are the ones that are doing this. Asian people doing it ourselves. Okay. And also it pains me because if you know real Asian struggles, then you would know that Asian people and Black people work together. Asian people and Hispanic people work together a lot too. We got the Black hair stores and we also got the Asian kitchens, man. You know who's working those kitchens, right? My whole point is that we need to work together rather than being racist towards each other. Okay, stop.
Because the so-called Black people are never listened to when talking about their own heritage. And yes, I say so-called Black people because that is a political title that was forced upon them. But what the white man did was try to take the Asian and make them the new hybrid race of white people. Unfortunately, they did this mostly against our will, with a lot of lies and destabilization to our home country, and largely by force. So certain Asian women have woken up to the fact that just because we're paler doesn't mean we're white, and we don't actually experience any sort of white privilege like other people want to say we do. Mainstream media has put us in a place where our proximity to whiteness is like this, not by our choice either. Even though yes, there are some Asians that play into their proximity to whiteness and use that for their advantage. So those of us that woke up are using our proximity to whiteness, our voices, and the way that they literally taught us to speak white as a way to communicate to the rest of people who will not listen to the dark-skinned melanated indigenous people of this land. And yes, while this does create division between our communities still, because why am I getting views for something that they have been saying for years, decades, centuries? Why are Asians the one that get listened to? Well, that ties back to proximity to whiteness as well. We didn't choose our proximity to whiteness, and very few of us choose to weaponize it against the white man and his colonial systems. Not enough of us choose to use our proximity to whiteness for something good. But as a literal product of colonialism, I can't find it in my heart to continue performing the model minority for people who will never acknowledge me as a human being. To answer your question. Sorry, I got a little carried away there. Because the so-called Black people
first came to the US, they weren't allowed. I've seen a few comments like this with, Asians and Black people fighting in my comment section. And honestly, it shows how little we actually talk about the history behind all of this. The tension didn't just magically appear. It was shaped by decades of laws, segregation, stereotypes, and political narratives that pushed our communities apart. When Asian immigrants first came to the US, they weren't allowed to live just anywhere. Segregation forced them into Black and brown neighborhoods because those are the only areas open to anyone who wasn't white. So Asians and Black Americans were physically close, but not always connected. Different languages, different histories, limited communication, misunderstandings grew out of that. Then in the 1960s, during the Civil Rights Movement, the US created the model minority myth. The idea that Asian Americans were successful, quiet, and proof that racism doesn't exist. That stereotype was never meant to lift Asians up. It was meant to contrast Asians against Black Americans and basically say, see, like they're doing fine, why can't you? It was a political tool that built resentment and pressure on both sides, even though neither community created that narrative. At the same time, anti-Blackness already existed in some Asian cultures because of colonialism, colorism, and Western media influence. And for some Black Americans, their only interactions with Asians were through local businesses, corner stores, nail salons, restaurants, situations that were transactional, not relational. That created frustration and stereotypes on both sides. But here's the thing. In both communities, it's only a small handful of people who are actually hateful or racist. A few loud, ignorant individuals do not represent millions of us. We can't let the worst examples define entire communities. Then COVID hit and all of this got amplified again. Anti-Asian hate skyrocketed. Elderly Asians were attacked, harassed, and blamed for the virus, all because of fear and political scapegoating. Some of the viral videos showed attackers who were Black, and suddenly that tiny number of incidents turned into a whole narrative online like Black people hate Asians, which was inaccurate and unfair. What people forget is that Black activists and Black organizations publicly stood with Asian communities during that time. People protested for us. They protected Asian elders. They spoke out against the hate. But the media rarely highlighted the solidarity, only the violence. And yes, some Asians responded by generalizing those incidents and blaming the entire Black community, which made things even worse, even though the majority of Black people had nothing to do with those attacks. COVID didn't create new racism. It exposed what was already unaddressed and made stereotypes louder because everyone was scared and hurting. But amid all of that, we forget that historically there has also been real solidarity. Asian American activists learned organizing strategies from Black civil rights leaders. Filipino and Black farm workers united under Larry Itliong and Cesar Chavez. Japanese American activists stood with the Black Panthers. Yuri Kochiyama worked alongside Malcolm X. In Oakland, Black and Asian communities built programs together to fight poverty and injustice. These are real alliances. They just don't get talked about as much as the conflicts. That's why we need to zoom out. Like, a handful of ignorant people shouldn't define entire communities. A bad experience shouldn't turn into a stereotype. We shouldn't let old narratives and old wounds be recycled and divide us again. Asians and Black people have both faced discrimination, exclusion, violence, and being treated like outsiders. We have more in common than we think, and when we work together, there's real power, real healing, and real progress. We just have to stop letting fear, stereotypes, and misinformation talk louder than the history and solidarity we actually come from. I've seen a few comments like this with, Asians and Black people fighting in my comment section, and honestly, it shows how little we actually talk.
One of the things that have affected bigly the Asian community, because when we talk about Asian, we also talk about the Indians. The Indians also are part of that community. Okay, they have been affected by the H1 and H1 visas. Okay, the losing of the privilege, and companies had to pay $100,000 a year for this situation of the H1B visas have brought problems even in the Trump administration, because don't forget, the biggest supporter of Donald Trump and one that helped him to win the election, Elon, he was a big supporter of the H1B visas, okay, because many of his workers, he import his workers from India and another Asian countries. So he lost that opportunity to bring, or it's gonna cost him more to bring or to import the human capital that he needs for his tech. And this was a big fight in MAGA, because MAGA, remember, the MAGA used to be American first. So when Elon decided that he's not going to agree with the H1B visas, okay, the statements of MAGA, okay, that they didn't want anybody to have these visas and all these things, this was a revolt in the MAGA cult, because MAGA was like, what are you talking about? We all want, okay, to have American first policies. And Elon just say, okay, American people, you are not smart enough. I don't know, whatever that means, We don't know what it means. We don't truly know what it means, but they say, okay, Americans, you are not smart enough to work in one of my companies. I don't know, but that's what Elon say, and that put MAGA in revolt. So for my Asian people, just keep on just keep showing your voices. Just keep breaking the silence, okay? This is the time. This is the time for break the silence. And for my Black people, stay at home, okay? How we planning to do? Stay at home, get your rest, okay? Do your cooking, learn a new hobby. Yes. And I just wanted to say thank you for my subscribers. Thank you for the super tens. Thank you for the cash app. Thank you. You guys are the best subscribers on the planet. And if you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? This is the time to subscribe. I have some of you in the comments that are tell me like, Jenny, I just noticed that I wasn't subscribed to your channel. So just make sure that you check right now if you are subscribed to my channel. And please help us to support liberal media. And thank you for the cash apps, the super tens, the Venmo. You guys make my day every time that I receive one of those, okay? I just wanted you guys to tell you guys I hope God can bless you, okay? Have a blessed day. Take care. Thank you.